What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal SpazPhoenix, the YWC Reality Check. This is not a review, and this is not an episode of The Clusterfuck, even though I would like to take this opportunity to thank all of you who have given me positive reaction on The Clusterfuck and how things are going on this channel from here on in. This is a response to my buddy Dalyxman, who has recently put out a fan interaction video asking people what they think should happen at Wrestlemania 30. Either give us a couple of matches that should happen or give us a full fantasy card. Now, you say fantasy booking to a guy like Spaz, and Spaz takes, reinvigorates the Doomy clipboard of doom and plays a little storytelling chess. So this is my response to him. If anybody wants to make a response to me, go ahead and do it, but really go and make a response, make your own predictions and your own fantasy booking well known to Alex on his channel, because his fan interaction videos are great. If you want, look in the box. If I remember, I will put his his screen name in the description box below. Let's get started. And there were some parameters for this. I had to include at least I think it was at least 3 alumni. I had to include all the titles. I had to have at least 10 matches. All the prominent players in the WWE had to be included, but in the list of who Alex called the prominent players in the WWE, it didn't include Sheamus, so I didn't include Sheamus. There we go. Just for a point of reference, if this is anything that's going to make you turn off the video, other names that are not included in this fantasy booking whatsoever are Austin, Goldberg, Sting, Ryback, Triple H, Curtis Axel. But do not worry. Do not worry. Just because Ryback and just because Curtis Axel are not involved in WrestleMania does not mean that Paul Heyman is not. I promise you that. Now, moving on. Some of these are going to be very, very convoluted as well. I'll just warn you right now. Starting with the opening match. The biggest Money in the Bank contest in WWE history. Now, what would happen with this one is it would start out with Triple H making the announcement of who's going to be in Money in the Bank and having a big Best for Business announcement. And the players in the... Sorry guys, it's late and I'm still not feeling 100%, so if I'm stumbling and if I seem like I'm trailing off a little bit, that's why. But Triple H would come out and announce that Alberto Del Rio, Justin Gabriel, Tyson Kidd, Kofi Kingston, the returning Evan Bourne, and for business purposes, the returning Jeff Hardy will be the field for the Money in the Bank ladder match. Now, in the meantime, in an effort to suck up to Triple H, Paul Heyman has offered the services of Curtis Axel. Curtis Axel offers to take out Cody Rhodes and Goldust. In his failure to do so, he also loses the Intercontinental Championship to Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes is the Intercontinental Champion. Cody Rhodes is a thorn in Triple H's side, wanting to get back into a World or WWE title picture, and Triple H challenges him to say, what are you willing to risk? What are you willing to put on the line if I give you an opportunity to get back in the World title picture? Cody Rhodes' response would be, I will go into Money in the Bank and put my Intercontinental Championship on the line. So Triple H agrees. He lets Cody and Goldust into the Money in the Bank ladder match, with the provision that the Intercontinental title will also be on the line. And then he also adds Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, who are no longer the tag team champions, to the match as well, giving them the marching orders that they are not to win. They are there strictly to make sure Cody doesn't win. So what we have for the Money in the Bank briefcase and the Intercontinental Championship is Alberto Del Rio, Justin Gabriel, Tyson Kidd, Kofi Kingston, Evan Bourne, the returning Jeff Hardy, Cody Rhodes, Goldust, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins in a multi-man ladder match for both the briefcase and the belt. And that's your opener, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go on from there. You know I love women's wrestling. You know I love good women's wrestling. And like CM Punk, I kind of dig crazy chicks. So I would have Paige storm onto Raw. I would have Paige storm onto Raw and relegate and mock and put down AJ Lee, who would still be the WWE Divas champion. Talk to her about how she's not a proper champion, how she's not what champions should be made of, etc., etc., etc. And she would bring the NXT Women's Championship with her. So she would sit there, she would mock AJ Lee for being, half-sized and da-da-da-da-da, and being bitchy and needing protection from people like Tamina and Big E Langston, and needing to cheat to hold on to her butterfly belt. And I would have her mock the butterfly belt excessively. I would then have AJ respond with mocking Paige's, Little League belt, or, the beginner's belt, referring to the NXT Championship. So they would be interrupted by Stephanie McMahon, who, despite the fact that she is a heel, likes to fuck with AJ Lee for some reason. She would bring out the old Women's Championship. And she would say to both of them, hey, Paige, you don't think very much of AJ's belt, do you? You don't. That's a laughable championship, isn't it? Same thing she would say to AJ. You think that's, a minor league belt. There's not much worth to it at all. How about you both put both your titles on the line to fight for this? AJ Lee and AJ Lee versus Paige at WrestleMania for the undisputed WWE Women's Championship. How does that sound? Next, we have something new and different, and new and different, and new and different. We have Big E Langston, who would go on a massive losing streak. And this part's going to seem a little typical, but I want you guys to bear with me. He would grab the mic one day, and he would assert that WWE's power structure is all white, and he's being held down because he's black. It's been done before, and I get that, and it's a cliche thing to do, and it's a trigger-pulling, hot-button issue way to book things, but I would have them do it like this. I would have him come out, I would have him deal with Triple H and Stephanie McMahon being outraged by such a wild accusation, and then I would have Paul Heyman. Oh yes, Paul Heyman, who's disappointed with Ryback, disappointed with Curtis Axel, needs a new guy. He would get in Big E Langston's head and feed that paranoia. He would feed that paranoia in a way that only Paul Heyman can. Big E Langston would then be confronted by guys like R-Truth that say, hey, this isn't the case, look at the success I've had. He'd be confronted by guys like Kofi Kingston, and then what I would do getting closer to WrestleMania, I would have him confronted week after week after week with various members of the Nation of Domination, or former members of the Nation of Domination. Have Farouk come out one week, have, D'Lo Brown come in for 1 week. Have The Rock come in for 1 week and cut wicked promo on Big E Langston just because it's The Rock. And then finally, leading into WrestleMania, you got Mark Henry. Mark Henry comes, stares him in the face. You're talking shit. I'm going to shut you up, and I'm going to do it at WrestleMania. Mark Henry versus Big E Langston with Paul Heyman in his corner, one-on-one at WrestleMania. The angle might seem a little predictable, but it would get the job done, and it would get us there. And, with WWE being PG, it's not something they've done in a while, so it would be okay. The next one, and here we go, here's for the U.S. Championship, because I would still have the U.S. Championship on Dean Ambrose. I would feed into the issues that The Miz has had with the corporation. He's had various issues with Triple H, with Stephanie, with The Big Show, etc. He would go after Dean Ambrose for the U.S. Championship. Because he's a face, the commentators could play him up ridiculous. They could play up the fact that he, much like The Undertaker, yes, I did it, yes, I went there, Mark Pearson can suck it, much like The Undertaker, is also undefeated at WrestleMania. He successfully defended the WWE Championship against John Cena in the main event at WrestleMania. So we would take all that. I'm biased as hell, you guys know this, but even I wouldn't have The Miz win this. Go in there, have a decent match, let Ambrose get the rub, and continue his monstrous U.S. Championship match, and have him start his own WrestleMania legacy. Yes, me being biased and me being a fan of The Miz, I would be willing to, cut the legs out from under The Miz WrestleMania winning streak right now to boost somebody like Dean Ambrose, because my biases do not, overlap logic. But yeah, Ambrose would successfully win the successfully defend the United States Championship against my boy The Miz. WWE Tag Team Champions. WWE Tag Team Championships, I should say, would be gone from the Shield. They would lose them 1 or 2 months before this in a triple threat match between themselves, the Usos, and the Primetime Players. The Usos are legitimately the #1 contenders. The Primetime Players would get it for, being in there at the last minute, and, they'd get the titles by fluke, by feel-good moment, that type of thing. And the fact that it was a fluke or a feel-good moment would be played up on by the Real Americans. Now, the Real Americans have also done sort of they're racist anyway, but they've already laid out in WWE programming that we've seen some pretty racist stuff towards the Primetime Players. Hey, somebody should have told your parents, if you can't feed them, don't breed them, that sort of thing. And here's where not a lot of people are going to like me, but they could come back. They could recycle some of that racist crap, and they could, with the recent news that we've gotten, they could look at Darren Young and be like, hey, young man, we also know what you're doing in your spare time, and we don't approve, because real Americans don't approve of shit like that. Not a lot of people would like it, but it would sure get a lot of people talking, wouldn't it? They would have a bunch of matches, one-on-one. They would have a bunch of matches, you know, Titus versus Swagger, or Cesaro versus Young, vice versa, leading into WrestleMania, where Zeb Coulter would always get involved, to the point where the primetime players would need somebody in their corner. Somebody that knows how to be scheming, somebody who, since losing his general manager job, really needs something else to manage, and their new manager would be Booker T. Booker T would be there to neutralize Zeb Coulter's effect on the match on the outside. So what we have for the WWE Tag Team Championships is, in fact, the Real Americans with Zeb Coulter in their corner versus the primetime players with Booker T in their corner. But despite that, I would have the Real Americans gain the WWE Tag Team Championships at WrestleMania at the expense of the primetime players. Now, next, because I have a certain quota that I have to meet for, you know, alumni or outside the company guys, I would have The Rock versus Brock Lesnar. I haven't put much thought into this. I'm really only putting this in because I have to. Rock versus Brock Lesnar, pick a reason. They could go out there, cut a promo, and brag how they've both beaten John Cena at one point or another, and say, you know, who's the better out of the guys that have beaten Cena. Or, you know, probably CM Punk would laugh at both of them, but that's another story altogether. I've literally got the reasoning. I don't know if you guys can mention it. Like, literally written on the board there, it says Rock versus Lesnar. Why not? And that's how I feel about this match. I've got Lesnar winning just because Lesnar's going to be the one to wrestle again after this sooner than The Rock, isn't he? The next one would be a lot of fun, especially if you're a creative guy like me, or if you really like promos, or if you just really like creepy shit. Everybody wants somebody like Cena, or somebody like The Rock, or somebody like Brock Lesnar to go after the streak. I'm the other way around. I say give the shot at the streak to somebody that could really use it, to somebody who a character like The Undertaker really fits in their wheelhouse, which is why I have The Undertaker versus Bray Wyatt. Why? Because I could see the setup in my head. I can see the setup in my head. Bray Wyatt's out there cutting one of his ridiculous promos about how, you know, hey kids, all the things your parents told you about monsters not being true, and all the things you always thought as a kid about monsters being under the bed is true. I am the monster under the bed. I am the face of fear. Undertaker would come out and you know, put him in his place, basically, on that level. But the response to that would be, you know, obviously a 3-on-1 beatdown by the Wyatt family. 3-on-1 beatdown by the Wyatt family, accompanied with lots of promos, be like, all your phenomenal abilities, all your streaks, all your matches, all your legacy in the WWE is nothing compared to the power of me and my family. Eric Rowan on the right, Luke Harper on the left. Undertaker comes out, lightning strikes the rampway. To one side he sees Kane. To the other side, he sees Mick Foley in old school Mankind garb, mask, etc. So what we have at WrestleMania for the streak is Bray Wyatt, accompanied by his very own Wyatt family, versus The Undertaker, backed by not only his little brother Kane, but one of his best rivals of all time in Mick Foley. I think it would be fantastic. I really do. Now, the main event. And this is where it gets more convoluted, and this is where you guys know I love unifying titles. I've already proven it in this video. 3-part main event for the WWE Unified World Heavyweight Championship. Or sorry, the Undisputed Unified WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Yeah, try saying that 3 times fast. We start off with Cena versus Punk for the World Heavyweight Championship, because we know Cena's being brought back like the golden boy that he is. He's already got a shot at Alberto Del Rio, and we know he's going to win. And he will bullshit steamroll through everybody else in his path from now until WrestleMania. What I want is, just after the Rumble, to have CM Punk cut another pipe bomb, call John Cena out on how he did absolutely nothing to earn that title shot. Hey, remember me? I'm the one you always struggled with. I was the one that was always a step ahead of you. I almost cost you your job. I almost cost you this title. I did cost you this title on numerous occasions. I did this. I did X. I did Y. I did Z. You know, if you want to prove that you are the best, come to WrestleMania and fight the best in the world. There you go. Obviously, CM Punk's going to go over Cena because it's me booking this pay-per-view. Orton versus Bryan, on the other hand. I can speak, I swear it's not the first day with my new tongue. I am not Taz. Orton's going to carry the championship for a while because he's got the backing of the corporation, of Triple H, Stephanie, The Shield, all the other people that are kissing ass to that entity. Orton's going to keep the belt for a long, long, long time. He's going to lose, he's going to lose, he's going to lose, he's going to lose. I would have him lose up until the Royal Rumble. I would have at TLC a match that says if Daniel Bryan doesn't gain the World Heavyweight or the WWE Championship, he doesn't get another shot at it as long as Randy Orton is the champion. But he would be left off the Royal Rumble card entirely. He would, at the very last moment, find out who number 1 is going into the Rumble, take them out, and take their spot. He would then go coast to coast through the Rumble. I would have them do a 40 like they did when Alberto Del Rio won it, but that's nitpicking and neither here nor there. Obviously, where I'm going with this is Daniel Bryan wins the Royal Rumble. He chooses the WWE Championship, and WWE officials like Triple H and Stephanie and The Shield and everybody else, Vince, Linda, if she wants to come back, Steph and Shane, none of them have any choice but to let him fight not only for the WWE Championship, but on the biggest stage of the year, which is, I'm sure, what he wants to do. Anyway, so Orton versus Bryan. Obviously, I'm going to overlook my fandom for Randy Orton here. Bryan's going to win. Bryan's going to win. CM Punk comes out to congratulate Daniel Bryan. They celebrate. They have drinks and Gatorade and streamers and balloons and everything falling from the ceiling. It's a very, very Guerrero Benoit-ish moment, and then you see the expression on CM Punk's face change. You see him grab a microphone. You see him say, "This is fucking bullshit." He looks at Daniel Bryan. He says, "I don't know if you agree with me or not, but having 2 world champions, having 2 people saying that they're the best in the world means neither one of them is the best in the world. And by God, Daniel, I know I am the best in the world. Let's decide it once and for all." He tosses his belt out of the ring. Bryan tosses his belt out of the ring. They wait patiently in the ring for another referee to come to the ring, and they have a half-hour Iron Man match for the undisputed, unified WWE World Heavyweight Championship. And here's where everybody hates me. Punk's your winner. Anyways, hope you guys have had a lot of fun. I've had a lot of fun. This is a response to Dalyxman's video, so everybody hop over to the Dalyxman channel, sub to him if you have not. If you haven't, you've basically been living under a rock. I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all these conversations going. Make up your own fantasy card. Send it to me, send it to Dalyxman. Don't be a stranger. I'll talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I'm tagging out. Bye, guys.
So shine if you're a freak like me.